All right, all right, all right. All right, we're live. Today's gonna be something a little bit different because I'm gonna be bringing Mario from Elektron onto the live stream, which is why you see the Zoom graphic down at the bottom of the screen, and also why it's in 720p and 1080 because it's extremely expensive to do Zoom. But we're gonna talk about the Digitone II with Elektron today. So if you have some questions, field them here, and we'll have a discussion. So let me get Mario in here. What up, dude?
Good. How's it going? What up? How's it going? Hey,
What's up?
everybody. Let
So
me
good
put
to
the
have
full
you.
screen here.
Yeah, so good to have you on stream.
Yes, thank you.
Um, it's been so long since we did this. We used to do this like kind of regularly.
Yeah, we would do, during the 2020 times when it was all virtual, we would get on and talk about some stuff, and it was super fun. So I'm glad we got back and gonna do it again.
Yeah, we're back in action, and now we have Digitone 2, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm stoked to discuss it with you because I know you have a bunch of toasty patterns that you've baked up yourself, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just been a machine since we've been working on it leading up to release, and just like seeing the different stages of it and learning it, and just coming off of the love of Digitone, the OG Digitone. I was super excited, and so when I finally got my hands on it, I was just like constantly making stuff, and we talked about it a little bit before, just like hitting a place where then I'm like, all right, what next, and then still exploring that. So there's so much to just keep exploring. So I'm excited to show you some stuff and learn some stuff from you too.
Learned some stuff from me. Oh man. Uh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, the first thing I want to get into is what I do have some questions about Digitone One. Do
Yeah.
do you know if Digitone One is going to continue to get any support, or are we shifting to Digitone Two primarily?
Yeah, I'll get a definitive answer. I actually haven't really thought about asking that, or I don't know if it's even been. I'm sure it's been brought up in our dev teams, but um, I know as overbridges get updated, the OSs for those devices they're still going to need to be supported on the newer overbridge. So those will be up to date in that sense. But I feel like because our team is so small over there in Sweden, they kind of work on one project to another. Like there's not much parallel projects going on, as you would think, but so it kind of just goes from one release or one bug fix to another type deal. So I'll can get a definitive answer, and then you could let your everybody
Yeah,
know.
no, I just figured that was it's an interesting question because I get fielded a lot of like electron related questions. And so I was like, hey, there's an opportunity to ask that right now.
Definitely.
I kind of assumed the Digitone 2 was just gonna take over. So before I let you just go ham on Digitone 2, let me give you my impression of what
Mm-hmm.
has happened with the Digitone 2. When I talk to people about like what piece of gear that they should get from Elektron, because it's like I teach a lot of Elektron stuff, and they're like, I have a Digitone and I have a Digitact, and I'm like, if you have enough, if you can afford it, I'm like, you need to upgrade to Digitone 2, or an upgrade to Digitact 2 because it really feels like a generational leap, right? It's like it's
Yeah.
such a huge leap between one and two.
For sure. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, so much time has not like I mean it's been time since it's came out from the first one, and there has been so many updates from the original to where it's at now. For example, like the Digitact, even the Digitone, we added so much stuff through OS updates, so it's not the same device as when it first came out. So this does feel like the next step, and also like for me it kind of went more than expected. There's a lot of things in here that I didn't even think I needed or wanted in a Digitone 2. So that is where I'm excited, because I know for myself, and I'm sure for many other users, that you get this device and you use it, and you know that it's going to grow with you. And also the it keeping in mind too that we still will always add updates and keep supporting it. So that aspect of like new features that will get introduced in the future, it's like when you first get into it, it's like you're just scratching the surface, and then as you start learning this device, you'll uncover more upgrades and like different cheat codes that you use for your own workflow. So a lot of workflow improvements, obviously the machines and the sound and the track amounts, but there's a lot of things that you go from the Mark Ones to the twos on both devices that are just make more sense and make things a lot easier to get done.
People are asking for you to turn your volume up a little bit if you can.
Check
Yeah.
1 2. Can you hear me? Check 1 2.
Yeah.
Let me bring this mic a little closer. Pardon my.
I can hear you perfectly
Check.
clearly, but maybe they can't.
Check. Is that better?
Yeah, I would say like everything that got added to the Digitone 2 is way more than I was expecting. 16 tracks is crazy, and the note entering, like how you enter notes, is like, has that totally revolutionized how you work on the Digitone?
Yeah, no, for sure. The note edit, it's like it's something that, again, that I didn't even think I would use right away, but that idea is kind of like with the step recording when that was introduced in the Digitone Mark 1. I was just like, dude, this thing is crazy, because now if I'm ever like it just a writer's block, because you've talked about this a lot on your stuff, like ideas or different tricks you could use to get out of beat block or whatever you want to call it, a slump. For me, it's like, I know with this I could grab this device, and if I want to play in chords with the MIDI keyboard I could do that, but say I'm just like, I don't want to look at black and white keys right now, I just want to like program something and let the machine kind of help me out, make a song. So with that, like the note edit and the step recording, all that stuff are different ways that I wouldn't normally approach creating music, like if I'm using a DAW or even just another device. So that aspect of kind of like the tracker workflow in a way, where you're going from one step to another and you're kind of just focusing on this one step and really getting the most out of that step, for lack of a better term.
No, that's like, dude, let's dive into that for a second really quick. So like, if we're looking at, let me go to like a blank Digitone pattern over here. You should be able to hear it. Oh wait, no, make it so you guys, you can.
There you go.
Okay, so if I program in some notes and I go into my note editor, I can pop some notes in. Let's put in function. This is like one of my favorite things about this. Auditioning your chords.
Yes.
This blew my mind. So I just want to. This is so cool. But also, this whole like, you can kind of do like a strum a little bit by offsetting, which I thought was really sick. But something I also noticed is if you hold function, you can adjust all the parameters at the same time, and I didn't know that until very recently. So we can just like offset every step, all the velocities, or you can do them one at a time.
Yes.
That is insane for sequencing external gear.
Yeah, no, exactly. I was gonna say that, like, that on itself on the device is so great, but I love using. I've been using the Digitact for the longest time as my MIDI controller, just because I had 8 dedicated MIDI tracks, and now with more tracks, and with this, like, I'm just so used to this kind of workflow. Like, I know how to create chords. I know like what shapes to play, like which are gonna sound good to my ear. So knowing that and just using this as a controller for my DAW soft synths and stuff, like, that's something that I feel is like a big game changer. And then audio over USB as well. Like, I feel like just the utility aspect of our devices, for somebody that is just gonna only has enough money to get one thing, our devices cover a lot. Like, if you get a Digitone, you're gonna get a bunch of synths, you're gonna get a bunch of tracks, you're gonna get overbridge. Of course, you'll need a laptop if you want to access overbridge, but if you already have a laptop, which I'm sure a lot of people already have, you get an audio interface, you get inputs, you get a delay, a reverb, and a chorus. Like, all these things that you get from this one device. Of course, it's mainly a synth, but the MIDI tracks, all these things, like, for me, like, that's that aspect of the upgrades where I'm getting this device and it's gonna cover a lot of ground.
That's what I mean, this is really why I like Elektron so much. And I know, like, I'm talking with you who works at Elektron, at the Elektron studio now, and I'll fanboy out for sure. But I also, like, I love this gear because of what you just mentioned. It's utilitarian. Like, my Digitone 2, before it was my Digitact, and the reason why Digitact 1 was so useful as a MIDI controller was we had 8 audio tracks, right? And the bottom 8 tracks were the MIDI tracks, and they were just always exposed. And in a live performance, having your MIDI tracks exposed like that was really important to me. So the MIDI tracks are hidden in the Octatrack but we have our MIDI arpeggiator. So like you want to go in the Octatrack to get the MIDI arpeggiator, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And but you don't want to like go into the MIDI side and have to switch between the audio tracks. It just gets confusing. You know, at a live show, like you're flustered a little bit. You know, naturally. But now that we have 16 tracks, I'm like, I'm not using. You're not gonna put one voice on each track, right? And have them all play at the same time. You're gonna like maybe take a couple tracks and use them for MIDI sequencing.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that I can just like have like a bottom row exposed for MIDI sequencing, and the new chord thing and LFOs for my MIDI it's just such a game changer for me sequencing my larger synthesizers in my studio.
Definitely. Yeah, and for anybody that is, you know, hybrid, or, you know, like that uses mainly the DAW and they don't have a lot of hardware, I feel like the Digitone is great to kind of, or any of our devices that when we say the MIDI over USB, because you have that, you know, ability to go into a track, make it a MIDI track, and then you have your CCs that you could assign. That for me is like, and then saving that as a sound or saving a kit, because then I could open up, like there's Fours.fm. They make really great devices, and if I want to have more of a tactile feel, then I'll use this, assign the parameters in Ableton, so then when I open up that session, I could save that rack as its own preset. So then when I plug in the Digitech or Digitone, I just load in my sound that's saved as a MIDI track with all of those settings, and I can just control other gear as well too. So
is that something that you do? Like, is that become part of your workflow?
Yeah, a lot of times it's not like fully mapped. It's just like, okay, I know over time I'm gonna mess with the cutoff and maybe like, you know, oscillator to level or whatever certain devices, just so I could record my audio but like actually do live tinkering. And I've done it before where like I'm sequencing the parameter locking the MIDI steps, so that's also cool too, because it's in time, it's synced up over USB. I do a lot of stuff with just audio over USB and USB MIDI, just because that's kind of what I've gravitated. I like using Overbridge at times, but just for like quickness, I'm just like going audio over USB and MIDI over USB. So I've been using that a lot with software since playing stuff on the Digitone, and using the scale modes. That's a big.
Wow, I've not actually haven't done that very much myself, and I really need to, because that's pretty inspiring. You could actually, if you want, you can turn up your volume even a little bit more. I think people are still saying. Yeah, to me, it sounds fine. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like I'm like too loud, but because I could hear the background noise. Yeah. But I mean, maybe I could focus my talking into the mic a bit more. Let me put it right in front of me. I guess you don't need to see the device when we're in this mode. Cool. Is that better, chat? Let me know. I
hope so.
Check.
Everybody's stoked that you're here, and I definitely am. I want to continue this discussion, but I would love for people to get a chance to hear some of Mario Hernandez's awesome tunes that you make. So if you want to play a jam for us.
Cool. I'm down. Yeah, I got this thing set up. Let me turn my mic volume down. Can you hear me? I'm getting a weird noise. Where's that noise coming from? Hold on 1 second. Alright. What's that coming from? Yeah. Yeah.
Sick, dude. That was awesome. The voice capture at the end there.
Yeah, I was like, I got to talk to them, but then I realized, oh, I got you guys mixed in through. Let's see, you can see this here. I got a mic set up, and you guys are coming in here, so or my voice is coming into here, so now I could voice is coming into here, so now.
Dude,
fun.
You really are awesome on
Thank you.
on Elektron gear. Like straight up. Like you work at Elektron, and I know like that's cool in itself. And that's like it's a great company to work for. But like you are fantastic at these boxes. Every time I hear you make something on there, it really is like your sound. It's really unique to you, and that sounded like strangely complex. I was like, what is what was happening there? Was some stuff, were you doing some weird chord stuff? Like it was all over the place.
Let's break it down. This was one of the first like patterns that I actually started using the note edit a lot. So the way that I did it was I created these chords first. So let me make sure we're on our first step here. So hold on. It was this track, right? And I figured it out. Let me see. It was this sound that was. Let me see. I think it was on track 15. Let me just do some investigating. Yeah. So I think it's.
You were looking for that cell phone or whatever fax machine.
Yeah, track 16. I don't know what's going on right there. Let me just clear that. We don't need that track. There we go. Cool. So on this track here, track 10.
Beautiful.
So those are just chords, FM, tone. Like I've fallen in love with this machine just because it's like very, very clean. And if you want to start, am I clipping? Is that good?
It sounds like you're clipping.
Okay,
to
let
me,
me double. Yeah.
But
a little bit better. Cool. So yeah, I love this machine just because it's so clean. You get some very like nice chords going, and so I had these chords. Jump to the next chords.
it's a very Radiohead sounding patch and progression.
Yeah. And I've been in this frigid, like, I mean, honestly, I don't really know. I'll just pick a scale and however I'm feeling that day. If I'm like, that sounds good. I really like scale mode. It just, it gets, I end up using scales that I wouldn't normally use, and it's cool to mess around with those. But anyways, back to that. I was in note edit, and then what I did, I had this chord progression, and then I, copied it, and then I went to the next track and I pasted it here. So this track is just a copy of track 10's sequence, but then I changed the sound and I added arpeggiator.
Clever.
So it's the same notes, and this is just wave tone sound, and then again did that same idea, went to this track, copied those chords, but then what I did was I did function right left, and now it was this before, and I went 3 steps, and now it's on that sequence is shifted 3 steps to the right. So to hear this, and it's giving it this like snare sound. So from this one track,
awesome.
Copy paste, and again, what I did with this one, I just basically kind of like copied the actual track preset, pasted it here, and then made some changes through that. And with this one, I messed with the timing, so you could see in here. I can't zoom in anymore. Oh yeah, you could see it. So then I changed it with the F. So I'm doing all of them now, but so that it kind of like that adding that strum effect to it.
Yeah, sounds more natural.
Yeah. And then with that too, it's all micro timing. So what's cool with that is that it gives it another rhythm that you could live record in with unquantized recording, but then it'll do its own thing. So using this method and actually like just going by ear and being, it's a lot of repetition. Obviously, I'm like, okay, that one sounds good, but let me go to this one. I want this one to be, I'll add another. Then you just go through it and change the sound as you're listening, and then yeah. So with that all together, and then that's just 4 tracks. So then I have all these tracks up here to mess with sounds, and then this one, track 1, is mainly the drums. I just did sound locks. A lot of micro timing going on, but
So wait, can you give me a little Mario tutorial on how you like to program those drums? So like I know you said some micro timing there, and like
yeah.
What are you doing?
Let me see. Let me copy this. And so basically I want my kick there. Boom. And I'm using the preset pool. So I have these sounds loaded, and it's obviously sound locks. If you guys don't know what that is, I'm saving these sounds, and per step I'm changing the preset. So that's like a hi-hat, and then I could change the sound there. So with the micro timing, what I wanted to go on, I know for sure that like my snares, I don't want them to be completely on the 5 and the 13. So here I have it micro time just like +3. So, and how that sounds, like if we just, let me do this. Let me delete this micro timing. Put it back.
You know what I gotta say I love is that the steps light up letting you know where everything is programmed now.
Yes.
Oh my god, that's such a game changer.
You just go right here and you're like, I know the filter, I know the synth. Yeah. That's a loud snare. So we listen to it. And look at this BPM.
Wait, what? What's going on, dude?
So I wanted to make this thing super long, so I have the drums set at double. I don't know, this one's a weird one, I'm telling you. And then on the other tracks, these are all set to just speed. There's different speed per track. So I also did that with some of these tracks here. So let me see. Yeah, basically just think of this being doubled. So that's
okay. 72?
72, yeah. 72.
Wait,
I think
no.
because
76.
76, yeah. 8 times 2 is 16. So let's see, 76. I think I had this set first like that. So let me just reload this pattern. Okay. So I programmed these drums first. That was the thing, is that I made these drums first, and it was like this.
Oh, okay.
And it was like a little different, but then I was like, hold on, let me see. And I went back to 38, and it's like very swingy.
It's very nice.
Very, very slow, and then added some swing on it too. So yeah, just double. I do this a lot. Sometimes if I'm at like 140, I'll half scale the half speed the scale. So then it's like at 70. So I do a lot of this division just to make use of the sequencer steps. You lose some resolution sometimes.
Yeah.
But, that's how you could get some weird stuff happening. It's kind of hard to explain why I do it, but I do it.
It's some pretty next level stuff. Like, I feel like I know these machines like pretty darn well, but there is already quite a few things that you're doing that I just haven't implemented as much into my own workflow.
Yeah, it takes. I mean, it's all what you want to do, right? Like that's kind of my thing. It's like, that's why I want to like bounce ideas off with you too, because it's just like there's a lot of stuff that you get very close-minded on, or just like tunnel vision, the best way to say it. Like this is how I do stuff. I always put my kick here, I always put my melodies here, kind of thing. But then there's certain times too where I'm just scatterbrained and everything's just like thrown
all over the place.
And I'm like copying stuff from other patterns, so then I'm just like, let me put this here for a second, and then I just forget. But management is another thing, like just like track management. But a lot of times it's just trying to get the idea out as quickly as possible. And then one of my other favorite things on this pattern is just all these like, where is that? No, I wanted it to sound like it was a record, so I added this.
I've been playing with that too, the granular noise.
Yeah.
That's in the
So
wave tone.
so actually, this is what's dope. In FM drum, there's also the noise circuit as well. So
Right.
you have gain here, but then also in wave tone, you also have that. So like you have two different noise flavors, and then in wave tone, you have the three: sample and hold, tune noise, and is it grain noise? But yeah, the granular, noise grain. So with that, it's like it just gives it this whole. There's that phone again. So that's why there's like a lot of stuff going on. All my main kick and snares on track one. So, and then all together, it just kind of like I wanted this one to sound very drunk and like very like I guess low end theory style head bobbing, like the rhythms there.
Oh yeah.
But then also with just synthesized drums, it just sounds insane. And then all of the fun little things is like performing. Now that I have control all, you have control all with different machines. That's where you get some crazy stuff happening. So I'll turn perform kit on so that I can make some changes. A lot of the stuff that sounds crazy, it's like me just setting it up, presetting it, having it so that it's playing, and then so I know I can have fun and just mess around with control all, live mutes, things like that. I also like messing with the arpeggiator a lot. Like if I have these chords here going, I know I could go to this track and then turn it on. So like having that arpeggiator in there is just like another point of modulation that I could start adding stuff on there.
That electric piano patch that you made is supreme.
I'm gonna have to send it to you.
You'll have to.
Dude,
it's
I love
beautiful.
I love this page right here. Synth page. It used to be on synth page 2 on Digitone 1, but on synth page it's the third page. You have these delays, and modulation. Yeah, so let me turn all this stuff off. Oh yeah, and the arpeggiator's on. Turn that off.
Oh dude, it just popped up in my head. Are we gonna get envelopes in the modulation section?
So that is something that that's talked about. I don't have any official word on that. But you notice that this doesn't say LFO, right?
That's why I'm asking.
Hint, hint.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are things that are that are put in place, and there's headroom in terms of CPU usage, not audio, in these devices for things like that. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that would be dope. I mean, I love these envelopes here. That's why like that delayed kind of modulation happening. I'm adding, if I do this, hold on, let me go back here. You hear that like initial pluck? But if I add a delay to it, it comes after. So let's see. So for me, like, that type of stuff, it starts giving it this like, this just like other, like, it's ghost notes that are playing kind of thing. So
yeah, like post ghost.
Yeah, exactly, post ghost. And it's very controlled. You have your level here, and then I mean with stuff like this, like, I like that sound. It's like I really like this sound, but let's see how it sounds with different algorithm. Or if I like, my favorite thing has been using these offsets.
Yeah, I really like the offsets.
And if you hold function, it logs it to like.
That's a really nice one.
Yeah, the Digitone is so fun. I mean, the FM tone is still like, I still am amazed by what I could get out of it. And then now with all the effects, it's just. It's so
Is
fun.
this your favorite Elektron box?
It is now, yes. It used to be Digitakt just because I was big sample and like that's how I started. Was just making beats by stealing people's loops and drums and just making something new. But then I it took a minute to actually want and feel like the urge to create my own sounds or like have a vision of like in my ears of how I wanted my music to sound or like the type of tones I was trying to get. And honestly, it was just the evolution of our devices, like going through. Digitakt came out when I joined Elektron. That was like the first release was Heat, and then Digitakt, and Digitakt was just like it was the first new with OLED. The buttons are new. It was just a whole new
pattern mutes, like a whole different
everything.
workflow. Yeah.
And this is me coming in. I kind of started messing around with Octatrack Mark 1, but I was just on Ableton. I started off on Native Instance Machine, so that's how I like hardware. But I was very Ableton, just heavy, just MIDI keyboard, making beats. And then Digitakt came out, and I'm like, all right, this is like my thing, and I feel like I mastered it to how I like to use it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was good because then I load in samples and I just sample all day. Then Digitone comes out, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. I'm gonna use it as my preset player, and I was just using it honestly, getting like packs and like using presets and using all the factory sounds, and then kind of tinkering a little bit here and there, and then samples and cycles came out. And when cycles came out, I got like, oh my gosh, these like I don't need any kick drum sounds anymore. I'm gonna
Dude,
make my own sounds.
Mario, you just reminded me of samples and cycles.
Yeah. Yeah, those ones they're very they're very kind of been on the back burner in terms of like support, but we still sell them. They're still selling, and Cycles is actually, I feel like, still doing pretty well. Like,
I think Cycles is sick.
Yeah, Cycles is still one of my favorite devices too. For anybody that wants to get into the Elektron workflow, or honestly just on its own, it's such a different workflow. Like you have your output functions, and then your tracks, and your chromatic mode is always there. So with that, like, it's a fun thing to work with, and
it's the same engine, right? It's a Digitone.
Yeah, it's about the same. And a good funny thing to something to note at the FM drum is kind of the model Cycles engine, but now expanded to where you have full control. So there's a lot of tones that you get in FM drum that you could sort of get. Just think of the FM drum machine in model Cycles, but for each machine, like kick, there's those 4 parameters. They're all set up like a patch, and then you open up snare. That's another patch. There's these fixed connections that are made, so you get those sounds. But technically, you could get all those sounds from model Cycles with the Digitone. With more, obviously, you have your filter, you have dedicated effects, and like stuff like that. All of that stuff. That
expanded sequencer too.
Expanded sequencer, yeah, and just polyphonic. So like all these other things that come into play that really beef it up. We upgraded those sounds, but that's how you're able to get a lot of good little sounds, like sounds that sound like Cycles when it comes to the FM drum machine.
The FM drum edition and Wavetone and Swarm. So the Swarm one is still like, I kind of giggled when I saw Swarm in Digitone II. I was like, what's that doing here?
Yeah. It was kind of like, I mean, same thing. It kind of, in a way, it feels like because there's only one page, right? That's the one thing
Yeah.
when you're in here, you only have this one page. And for me, it was I was just like, dude, add it because, like,
Because why not?
it's it's also for me like I've always liked this. Like you get these nice like lead sounds, but like that.
Yeah, it's got the sub D2
Yeah, and then
super saw with subs.
dude, like I'm just like, dude, that is just I know for a fact I will always use a sound that's like that if I want to just have the main oscillator.
It was my most used engine in the Syntax on the digital side.
Oh, okay.
So
Dude,
it's
and
made me use my Syntax less.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, there's a lot of things that going back from Syntax to this, I always get into this thing where I'm like, I press pattern and I'm like, I want to do this, but I can't. Because
I know.
You like have to hold pattern bank, and then there's a bank button. Yeah, it's just all these little things. And then I'm like, where's my keyboard button?
I know, dude.
Coming to this at first, I was like, why can't we just do this like normal? But we do have that now in personalize. You could set our up and down keys to be keyboard octave, like legacy, which we could get into this menu. We're missing a very vital
That one
tool.
thing that everybody loves.
Yes.
Everybody's asking about.
Yeah.
I know it's around the corner.
Yeah, it's like, you know, our team, like I was saying, it's a very
We're talking about the global.
global, yeah. And in Sweden, the devs that are working over there just came out with Digitone, and before that it was Overbridge. And so like, and then we're gonna get into holidays, so there's a lot of stuff happening where things will get done, but with due time.
For sure. I think, like, I mean, besides like little tiny, I mean, Digitone 2's only been out for a little bit. It's, I mean, to me, it's the most flagship device. It's smaller than the flagship, what was considered flagship for Elektron.
Yeah.
But to me, it's the most flagship device out there now besides Digitakt 2. Like, is there anything that can even compete with, like, Rhythm can kind of compete with it in terms of, like, that has Overbridge and it does a lot. But the Digitone 2 and Digitakt 2, like, they kind of smoke the Mark IIs now a little bit. That's my opinion.
A little bit. It all there's still some things on the Mark IIs that or the analogs Mark IIs that I feel like are very, very fun, like the quick performance knob and like Octatrack, like the crossfader, stuff like that, where you kind of have it here with the performance kit, but those states can't be saved. You know, like it's great for jamming and quick improving, which for my workflow is perfect. But certain people, like for example, one of my friends, Basic, he like lives by the analog rhythm. He has the Digitone 2 and he likes it, but for his live sets, he needs sample and he needs synthesis, and he also needs performance modes like and scenes and shit. So like pads, those types of things where it's geared to his workflow. Like there's still a lot of stuff that are very beneficial to the analog. But again, you start getting into that thing. Well, what are you using it for? If you want just the bestest thing that costs the most, obviously the rhythm's going to be very enticing because it's however much it is, you know.
Well, I think like really like for me, and just to talk about Rhythm verse or Analog 4 Rhythm versus Digitakt Digitone 2, like one of the things that would make you pick one or the other. And speaking of Basic, because he uses this a lot too, and I played a gig with Basic a couple months ago in Portland, and I got to like watch him do his flow during the show, like really close, and he utilizes this a ton, and that's the pattern switching, like being able to pattern jump.
Yes, you could change it from step, you could change it from direct, so you could just start stuff like that. Like
those are the flagship
those
stuff.
little things, and then you know there's certain things that you could do on them, the flagship, that the individual outs, like not much people are using that all the time.
That's true.
But in studio settings, there's some people that will only get machines with individual outs, or they're in modular and they will only get anything with individual outs or CV, because then you also get CV ins on the flagships, and with Analog 4 you get CV outs, which are it's still another thing that I feel is so underrated. Analog 4 as a CV sequencer is such a powerful machine. If you're building this sidetrack, I don't even own
let's go.
I don't even own modular that much. Like I only have a Morphogene and like one Modbat module that I like. Those are like my things that I tinker in modular, but I sequence it and I control everything with analog 4. 4 CV outs, and you could select it to be a gate, you can select to be an LFO, you can select to be volts per octave. That, and then it has inputs, so you could process the audio.
Run the audio back in.
Yeah, exactly.
It has neighbor tracks, which is the only other machine.
Yeah, exactly. It's so
Octatrack.
yeah, it's that's the funny thing. We always joke about that here at the office. There's a lot of little things that get tinkered. There's not like the only thing that's the same across all our devices are a sequencer. Obviously, you get like a little bit of this in there. You got some of this in here, like neighbor tracks, stuff like that. It's very funny, and it's just one of those things that you have to think about, and that's why I like our devices too, because it taught me how to make conscious decisions on creating music and also just thinking about my workflow or my setup. A lot of times I revert to just like one device because
I was gonna ask, like, is that your go-to?
Yeah, recently it's been just like, because Digitone was what we were working on, I was just focused on this a lot, and I knew that I could just get anything, basically any sound that I wanted besides like a drum break. Even that you could still get it with the transient, the drum transient. You could get some crazy drum breaking, but like sampling wise, like that's the only thing this thing doesn't cover. But with any type of noise or sound, I know I could get something or close to it with this, mainly just because of like real estate space on my desk. I'll have one device, or I'll do like heat and something, because heat kind of just like is good to have, and I've been using a lot of plugins actually, not like crazy, but Forz FM, I know I mentioned them before. It's great.
Well,
great
isn't
company.
S the designer of Digitone?
S is the designer of Digitone. So honestly, for me, it's like I know the sounds that I'm trying to get. I know I could get it with that. And honestly, like the newest device, Dyad, and like there's a lot of new things that he added on there that get really close to Elektron style sequencing that I really like, because I like using the devices, but sometimes if I'm using it all day, then I kind of just want to. I just got a Mac M4 Mini too, so that has been like I've been excited just using that. Thank you. And with that, I'm like able to do so much more than I've ever been able to do in my life with my computer. I've always hit this CPU load issue, and that's why I reverted to hardware, make everything in here, record it, and use my computer as tape machine type thing.
Yeah.
But now that like I honestly haven't even hit a CPU crazy like thing.
So and you won't.
Yeah, dude, it's insane.
Not on the M4s.
I feel like so spoiled now. Like I wish I had this years ago, but we're here now, and I'm excited because for me, I'm excited for what type of music I'm gonna be able to make, or things I'm gonna be able to do, not just music. So when we come out with devices like the Digitone II, like the tools that are accessible now, or the things that you're able to do now, it's gonna push the boundary of like what people are able to do and what people are going to create. So it's been out in the wild. I've been seeing crazy videos. I mean, stuff that you make obviously is super dope, and like I like your stuff too, because you do workflow things that you would use for yourself, and it's just like, hey, this is an idea that I have. It's kind of like a train of thought kind of thing, where I'm hitting these things that I'm like, oh, everybody needs to know this, but it's just hard to like explain it. But it also shows the power of like, I mean, I know not everybody could afford more than one of these devices, but when you start building your library and start building your instruments, like having different devices, you could do some crazy stuff as well too, like back and forth. I had Digitone 2, analog, heat plus effects, and Digitact, and I was just using Digitone to sample to Digitact and just using that as my sound source, and oh my god, dude, it was like stood there for like an hour, and I'm like, this is like I could be here forever. It's like never ending just supply of samples.
It's so interesting to me that everybody's workflow on all boxes in general, not just Elektron, but like just hardware electronic music, which is clearly what you're really into as well. Everybody's workflow is so unique to them. Like we all have some stuff in common. Like we're going to use MIDI, and we're going to maybe MIDI sync our stuff, or maybe not. Maybe we're going to tap tempo, basic style or whatever. And but everybody's got their own workflow. And just hearing it from you, who's in one of the pilot seats at like Elektron, so to speak. Hearing your workflow is so interesting to me because it's so different than mine.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, like once you start building your Elektron library, and this is something that comes up a lot because like people, I worked at the synth shop forever, and it was like you come in, you get a piece of kit, and like I often was telling people Elektron stuff because it's what I use, so I could easily get you excited about it, you know? And it's got a lot, it's just fully featured stuff, but it'd be like, well, I only get one piece of kit. And I'd be like, well, what? I always told people to get a sampler. I was like, you should get a sampler first because it can be anything that you want. And now with Digitone 2, I would kind of, I would kind of say maybe you want to get the Digitone 2 maybe first because you're going to have more immediate fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas the Digitakt is actually going to be a little bit higher of a learning curve in terms of getting a sequence going. There's some boxes out there like the Deluge, right?
Yeah.
You know the Deluge.
Yeah.
So like this box right here, like if you're like a guitar player, singer-songwriter person, and you walk up to the Deluge and you go, I'm gonna play music, and you just can. It's like looking at the MIDI keyboard roll.
Yeah.
It does, it does literally everything. For Elektron, I feel like what you want to do is you find the one that you gravitate towards, you get that box, you learn it really well, learn the sequencer, and then once you've done that, you learn the sequencer, you can just grab all the boxes and put them together, and you actually don't really need anything else. Like,
it's
it's
hard to again, another inside joke that we have here. It's like we use it so much and it's so good, but like we don't want to just be I honestly don't care. I'm just like, I use Digitone. That's all I use. One, because I can't have everything out at the same time, and two, it just gets it done. Like, it's good. Like if I need a synth, I don't care if it's whatever. I'm gonna bring out the Digitone. If I need to just create a drum machine, if I want to just sample something off my phone, like go Instagram Reels, YouTube, go over audio USB and my Digitakt, call it a day, and that's it. If I want to create a live set and I just want to use one device, Octatrack. If I want to,
is that really what you would? That's your go-to? If you want to create a live set in one device, you go Octatrack.
If I want to use different sources of beat material. I've done sets where it's just Digitakt, which is good. But if I'm creating a set, I'm like, I have songs in Ableton, I have songs in my Digitone, and I have songs in my Digitakt, then I know I could export them in a certain way that I like to do, and like kind of have them stemmed out in Octatrack, but then still have that ability to perform live. I've yet to try it on Digitakt, mainly because I like track neighboring, and I like having a track dedicated, like my master track. I like having my track 8 as my master track, and that track dedicated to effects, and then also my slots so I could play my strange samples, stuff like that, where I could probably set it up in Digitakt, but it'll take a lot of setting up to do, where I know Octatrack, it's kind of, I have a way of doing it. I might switch it up
you have a
workflow
now.
Yeah, exactly. I have a workflow which I like the Octatrack for that, because before, if I wanted to do a beat set, I would have to just record the stereo out and put it in my SP404 and just basically DJ and do effects on top of it, which is fun, and has its own feel. But like, if I made a track in Ableton that's 4 tracks, then I know I could get those stems and create 8-bar loops and create that pattern as a song, and then be able to use a crossfader with different scenes. Like, it's just for me, it allows me to play a full song just start to end without doing much effects, but then also having another song in that set where I have full control over each track,
right, and
then go to the next track and whatever. It's just more of like a DJ set, but being able to improv as well.
That's interesting. We should have another call and talk hardcore Octatrack shit.
I think
sure.
that was our first idea, but then Digitone 2 came out.
Yeah, we gotta talk about Digitone.
But I'm down with the Octatrack 2. That's a whole other thing. I want to get back into that as well, because it's just so. I just like the idea of. I know there's not an Octatrack 2 at every club like there are like Pioneer CDJs.
Right.
But it's cool to just know if I were ever to go to Portland, I could just bring my CF card, or not Portland, over there where you're at. In,
Seattle, yeah.
Seattle, yeah. Bring my CF card and be like, yo, EZBOT. Let me rock a set.
I got an Octatrack over here with a battery inside of it. So
that's good. It
is pretty sick,
dude.
Somebody was asking in the chat, and there's questions going on in the chat, which I've been kind of like, I've been talking to you because I like chatting with you. But somebody has been asking, and I know the answer to their question, but I'm gonna let you see if maybe you have a different answer. Mm-hmm. They wanted to talk about how do you do automation on your Digitone. Automation in Elektron, because it's the same, right? It's the sequencer.
Yeah.
How do you like to do that? Do you do live automation? Do you do? I have my own answer, and maybe we can
Yeah,
discuss that a little bit. But
it all yeah, that's a good question. I kind of do it two different ways. If I'm just using my device here, um like if I'm doing a live set, I'm gonna just do it live automation as much as I can. Like, I know that I know where my pages are. I know that, like, if I'm playing, like, let me go to a different track here. Let me make sure. Let's just use this for an example.
okay,
So I got my drums here.
this drum sounds so good.
Dude, I'm telling you, these and
The
these are all,
compressor on a Digitone? What the?
dude, I didn't know I needed that until, like, see, I'm probably not even using it. And these are all presets. This is one that I made, actually. It's really cool. It had, like, just random.
Oh, that is awesome.
You could probably hear that noise. But anyways, let's get back to what I was trying to talk about. So if I'm doing something like this, and I know I want to be changing the filter, I'll do it live. And if I want to record it, sometimes I'll just record it through and record it like that. LFOs, honestly, they help out a lot, and it's kind of just depends on what you're trying to achieve. If you know that automation is going to be happening throughout the whole track, or you want it to just happen during a pattern, you just copy this pattern. What I would do, copy this pattern, go back here, paste that pattern here, right? And now on these tracks, let me go here, clear this out. On this step, what I'll do is, if I want the filter frequency and I want it to start on this step, boom. And it's kind of, there's a lot of different things that I'm gonna have to do here, but I'll go here, right? I want it to do that. But say I want it to go up until, I want it to go wow, wow, up until track or step 15. What I'll have to do then is turn these LFO trigs off. Oh, me,
They want you to turn your mic up again if you can. I guess you could just max out the incoming audio, yeah.
check 1 2. Let me go like this too. All right, now I'm in front of this. Okay, sorry everybody for the noise. I got my mic here. Check. Better?
Oh, so good, so good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Proximity effect, that helps out a lot. So there's that. And so with this one, the LFO is not going to be getting, and I also don't want the filter to be triggered as well. So that's just on one step. Obviously, if you want to start doing it on other steps, you would have to go in there and, like, actually make those parameter locks and create those yourself. Another way is the recording, but when you record your live automation, it's per step, so you kind of get that, like, stepped. Let me do it on this hi-hat, so it's so you could record stuff, obviously. So now each step is going to get recorded, but it's not precise. Obviously, it's going to be getting whatever you get from the last.
It's almost like a sample and hold.
Exactly. Kind of. So that's another way that I also go stuff, and I'll live with the stepped stuff. But the other way is per step, and, like, this way it's very tedious and it takes a lot of time. So that's why I really like doing. I guess long story short, I like doing it live. That's my preferred way. Um, if I'm doing it in a live set, it's hard to do multiple parameters at once. That's when control all comes into play. And then you could be very specific with your setup on your control all settings. Um, so say all my drums are up here. I don't want to change the parameters of my drums. I just want my melodic stuff to be changed. So now so then I could do, if I just want my melodic stuff to be affected by those control alls, then I could set that up ahead of time, or vice versa. If I just want my drums to be affected by that, then I just change the setup here and just have my drums there. If I'm in like studio and I'm recording and I'm like trying to record a track with those automations, you can't do it with this yet, but Overbridge helps out a lot, honestly. Like if I know I just want this sound to sound and I want to change multiple parameters at once, then I'll go in Overbridge and I'll create those automation lanes in Ableton and then
just CC.
Just CC it and record it.
So kind of what I was thinking when the person in the chat was asking about this with automation, in my mind, what I was thinking was, so here's what I do. This is a cool conversation. So you were going into your LFO, like I have this chord. Let me make you can hear me, right? You can hear my chord?
Yes.
I'll turn it down a little bit. It's probably kind of loud. I'm gonna have this chord go for like, let's make it 4 bars long. And of course I duplicated it. I'll have the trig go for 64 steps. So now this chord plays for 64 steps. I'm gonna filter a little bit. Okay, so say I want to automate that across 4 bars, but I have other note data in between that. What I usually do is I'll go into my trig menu, I'll lock my filter trig, which I think is what you were going to, or is locking the filter trig, and then you can turn it off on other steps, and then this will give you more of that Ableton automation vibe, where you're putting in automation lanes, kind of, so to speak.
Yeah.
You get one lane, and it overtakes all values, which is like it's not ideal, but it does do the trick for things like, if I set my filter down like this, and we set an LFO. I'm just trying to answer. I was thinking this was maybe the question. I'll set it like this, and do it like 4 and that's too quick. So it would be 1, 2 bars. All right, we set this at 1, and 1 to 16, it gives you 4 bars. And that's an automation lane of 4 bars. And so like, the weird thing that I've always noticed, and this is something I thought was strange with like the Elektron LFO, was that this LFO shape isn't just a ramp, it's a ramp with a drop.
Yeah, and then it drops it,
So you have to actually...
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, you have to keep that in mind, that whatever value, you have to double it or
and
half
also
it.
What you could do in there is then you could go to this and do trig half. So if you do trig half, then
then it only takes the first half.
It just will take that first half. Yeah.
That is, I don't think this is probably the most underused thing in all of Elektron.
Yes. No, trig half is great, because sometimes I'll have something and I'm like, oh, it sounds tight, but like, I don't know. You have to get into these LFOs very. It takes some time and figure out different use cases, because there's times where like I wanted something. Do I have that pattern in your project? Oh no, I don't. I do not. But I was like doing these drums. Let me see. I think it's this one right here. Hold on. Pardon. I'm gonna be very loud. So with this one,
really quick,
Yeah.
just to answer, because this question keeps coming up and I want it to be really clear. The
Yeah.
reason why we lock the LFO to this trigger is because we're creating a start point for the
Yes.
LFO to start its phase. So the LFO starts here and the phase continues. Then we can turn it off by default, and no other triggers will trigger the LFO phase for any of your LFOs. All LFOs will be no longer triggered. But just
And
to
what?
answer this person's question.
Yeah, and you might be asking also follow up question for that. I don't know who asked that question, but you might say, but I only want that to happen for one time out of 4 bars or whatever.
Yeah.
Or I only want that to happen at this part of the song. For me, what really helps out a lot is copy pasting your pattern. You could do trig conditions too, but then you start getting into this thing where you don't know what's happening unless you really know what's happening, and it can get confusing. But like you just know, okay, I'm gonna copy this pattern, paste it to an empty pattern here. Then I'm gonna make those changes on that pattern, and now you could create the chain, create it as a song. I don't know how you're gonna be using it if you're gonna do it in a live set. If you're doing it in a live set, put that into song mode and set up your song,
For
or
sure.
just have a mental note that your notepad, whatever, that on A1 it's your full thing, but A2 has that filtered at only 1 bar for the pad track, for example. That's kind of my thing, is copy pasting patterns. Is I think is one of the most powerful things on our devices, because you can make those changes. And because we have kits now, which is really dope, but the pattern, you load a kit to a pattern, but if you change that kit in that pattern, you're not changing the kit across all your patterns. So I still live in that pattern, kit per
Same.
pattern brain. So with that, a lot of people there, or not a lot of people, but like there's pros and cons for that workflow. For me, there's a lot of pros to it, because then I could copy this pattern, paste it, make some crazy stuffs, but then I always know that my original pattern is there safe in A1.
Oh, okay. I get it. That's a cool. I like how you're thinking about that. So I think like what I do, and it's the same as you. I believe that we have the same workflow. I think it's the same workflow for probably pretty much everybody. Is I hope, because it kind of lends itself to exactly what you're describing. Is
Yeah.
you write like the best pattern you possibly can on pattern one, right?
Yeah.
And then we copy and paste it, and then we just iterate and
Yeah.
iterate and iterate and and do that, and then maybe we use song mode. But to be fair, I think song mode is only really useful on a single device, because like once
It-
you right, because the mutes, they don't
yeah,
extend across.
yeah, exactly. And it just depends on what you're trying to do. Because I've done it where I've done song mode, but I'll have song mode on one device, but song mode not activated on the other device. So I have program changes being sent. So say like Digitone is my main clock, and it's setting out program changes to my Digitact. I'll start creating the songs in Digitone, and as I'm changing patterns and adding patterns, the patterns on Digitact are going to change. So then
Right.
I'm just doing everything from here, and then I'm like, all right, cool, add some stuff here, A1, copy paste pattern. But then, yeah, you get into some weird territory when you copy paste patterns, because then you have to copy paste it on the other device. So there's a lot. Start with one device. That's a good place to start. No, but honestly, it gets fun with multiple devices, and there's a lot more you could do. And also some users use, that's their brain. Like one device is my melodics and one device is my drums, and there's pros and cons for that too. I was doing that with Digitact and Digitone at first, where Digitone was melodic and Digitact was all my drums, and that was great because then I could just do a lot of crazy stuff, and like separate the tracks. But now with Digitone and all the different machines and the sounds that I could get, it's very just like my tracks are just everywhere now. And it's hard to manage at times, I would say, but for the most part, the way I work, it's easy. It's easy. It's easy to wrap my head around because I'm the one creating it, right? Like if somebody were to come in and look at my device and be like, "What's going on?" So I think it all just depends on your workflow.
I felt like that a lot when I was like making Octatrack tutorials on the for the just for the internet or whatever, like years ago. And I felt like I had to like share like these more advanced techniques because I thought that everybody already knew everything.
Yeah.
But that's just not true
Yeah.
at all. It's just like it doesn't actually translate to other people what you're doing. It's like, whoa, this guy's moving at 1,000 miles an hour. Like I watch you
Yeah.
on the Digitone too, and it's just like you're flying.
Yeah, yeah.
across that
I do
thing,
a
you
lot of
know?
this stuff too, where I'm just like, I talk. Well, I'm trying to explain what I'm saying it, but I always have to remember that too, especially doing like trade shows and just like talking with other users. Like, um, we see this thing every. I know you look at it every day. I look at it every day. It's like at my house, like I'm using the devices not 24/7, but it's in my mind. Like it's one of those jobs that's hard to detach from because music is also my you know my way of expressing myself and my way of relaxing and my way of stressing myself. All everything, it's just everything is always constant. So having these there, like I often just assume people know what we're talking about, but we have a lot we want to invite new users. I love
Yeah.
when somebody figures out our stuff. It's like it's hard to explain. It's kind of um like I don't know, like an experience, a psychedelic or near death experience. You can't explain it to somebody, but if somebody's experienced that, you kind of just like you're like, yes, there's people that know Electron, and like it's always fun to talk with them because at different levels, it's just like you know that light bulb moment of like, that's I need this, like that moment where you feel you're becoming the machine and the machine is just an extension of your brain. Like that's there's points where I've hit where I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just know that like any Electron device I could, it's that deserted island device for me. Like any machine I could just, I know I can have fun. And I get into that I feel like spoiled phase where I'm like, I don't want to use synthesis. I'm gonna go use a sampler for this next few weeks, or I don't want to use a sampler. I'm gonna use a synthesizer for the next few weeks because those are now issues that I come up with because I'm fortunate enough to have access to these devices, and I'm super happy that I am. So as much as I can, sharing joy and sharing knowledge of like these stuff and cool sounds, like I want to remember that a lot of people see what we're doing and think it's magic, or like they know that that's attainable, but being able to show that path, like look at this trail that I made, go down this so you don't make the same mistakes that I did, or
Mhm.
go ahead and make the same mistakes that I did because maybe they're not mistakes for you, maybe that's your workflow. So it's cool to like hit every aspect of it. That's why I love like talking with other people and other users. It's
Yeah,
just
and it's cool. Like you guys, I mean, you guys do this with me, and this is one way of like getting out to the community and like showing your love for the community, hooking up
yeah,
here and letting us ask questions. And
definitely.
I love it. And also, I like hanging out with you, so it's a good
Yeah.
time. And you do
Same.
some great programming. There's so much for
Tight.
me to learn.
Tight.
I
I
have
know.
a couple questions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, One, what would you say is the most like off the top of your head? What are people missing out on, like on the Digitone tube right now? Like, what you've seen people they're making content, people are making videos and music. Like, is there anything like people are just totally missing?
Um, that's a good question. Uh,
I can think of like one
I
myself, which would be like the velocity, decoupling velocity, and
Yeah, yeah, like using that as your modulation source with. So honestly,
yeah,
that we could talk about like what you're saying. I think that's something that is kind of overlooked. Track layering as well. But
yeah,
let's talk
track
about,
lane,
yeah. Let's talk
yeah,
about the velocity thing really quick because it also goes into the other thing. So you have, velocity that you could velocity to volume. It's automatically just set to this um, linear uh, style, but you could set it to these other ones, um, and it's just going to change the way you play, but it's going to be your velocity of your MIDI keyboard because these don't have velocity. So naturally its velocity is off just because how we play on here, but if you turn the velocity off, now I'm on track 6. See, now I'm changing this. If I let me set that up back
when it's
again.
turned off, what is the default velocity?
It's just
A
at
hundred or
100,
whatever?
yeah.
Okay.
Or, let me see here. Is it I think it's at all its max, and you're just at your volume. So the velocity, the level velocity is at max, but not the actual velocity is set to max. So you're just doing the volume. But back to here. Now it's off. But what you could do is set up. Go to your, see, velocity to volume is off. Now if you go to velocity mod, you could assign 4 different parameters. So let me just do something. Ratio C, harmonics, stuff that we could hear. Ratio B, and then let's do feedback. And then I'm going to change these all. What's great is that it doesn't all have to be positive. So I'll do some negative, some like this. And you could change it right here. But now, yeah, the velocity is always going to be down because it's set down here. But if I go here
and lock it into your sequencer, yeah.
Well, what's going on? Probably some stuff that you can't. Oh, there we go. Let me put some modulation on. There we go. So you're changing all of these 4 different.
The patch actually turned out pretty good.
That's pretty nice. So set up now. You basically could, and what's really fun about it is that with this, it's very static because we're just using the velocity parameter on the trig menu. But if you're playing it on a MIDI keyboard that has velocity sensitive keys or pads, then you start getting more of dynamic playing. And with that same idea, you have key tracking. So then now you could set
I haven't thought about key tracking.
To key tracking as well, which is insane. So do that. Let's do like delay, send, and then do that up. So as I go up in, it's not that much. As I go up in,
this has to be the best box that Elektron has made because the sound design potential is out of control.
Oh, let me go here. Oh, where am I at? Oh, and then let's do some fun stuff too. Let's go back to key tracking. Let's do amp. Let's do like our amp page. Oh, that was a weirdness happening. Attack. Where is it? Amp attack time. And then let's do ratio A offset. And then even more stuff. You have more points of modulation. So then you have aftertouch, right? So then
this with an arpeggio would be really good.
Oh, let's check that out. Also, the arpeggio, I think that's the offsets are not talked about a lot. My favorite thing is just like, okay, that's a little too crazy, but
you're just making a new rhythm. This is the baseline trick for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But now we go here, and then what's really dope is that pitch bend. You could also do pitch bend, so it's not just you could decouple the pitch bend here. If you have pitch bend, you could set that to 0, and now your pitch bend is like a mod wheel. Then you also have mod wheel as well. All of this stuff is controlled right with the external MIDI keyboard. But if you have audio over USB, MIDI over USB, you could control all these parameters in Ableton. And have like one macro controlling all of these parameters, parameter lock that. Or if you have anything that has MPE could just be anything. So you could select like your pitch bend up, have that be your pitch bend, or like your up XY axis, have that be your breath control, because you also have breath control here. So these are all just names, but if you take away the breath control, they're just MIDI,
right? Just macro controls, yeah.
So, and then you could also just use it as a macro controller. So if I want, you have 4 breath controller, then you just go into this. It's kind of like, these are kind of like performance knobs, I would say.
Yeah, Digitone II keys.
Yep.
Confirmed.
Dude.
Not confirmed.
Let's go do this. There you go.
Nice.
Sorry, I just totally killed the mic. But with that, like that is something that I haven't fully, even myself, just these are just ideas that I have in my head. I haven't fully used that to its fullest potential, but there's, because you could save this as a kit, and then, or you save that track as a
Right.
sound, and all those settings get saved to your sound. Um, yeah, this is. And then with track layering, that's another thing that's really dope. Track layering. Right now, I'm on track 6. I want track six. I mean, not track 6. Track 16. Oops. There you go. Track 16. But I also wanted to control track 15. So now, when I play track 16, let me change this preset to just be like unmute it. Track 15. And
And
then
if you
I'll
use
play.
this with MIDI machines instead of regular machines, you can get more voices out of your Digatone, kind of, or save voices and control external synths.
I think. Wait. Yeah. So you would go to MIDI, and then let me see. Setup track layering. Wait. Track. Track. Yeah, it's a layering. But that's a good. Honestly, now I'm thinking, what if? Cause, look. Oh no, you can't put an arpeggiator. Never mind. I'm wrong. I was gonna say, what if you
Why
track
can't
layer?
we put an arpeggiator on a MIDI track? Is there
I
some sort of coding reason?
I don't know. Honestly, I've asked the question. And I've
And they were
never. I
just like,
Yeah, no, I guess I never asked it. I've always asked, can you do MIDI? Are we ever gonna get that? And I've never gotten a clear answer. Not saying that never got an answer, but I don't know if there's a I don't know if there's a technical thing that's wrong that we can't do. But I know that there's a lot of improvements that we can do already, that and stuff that's already in place. Obviously, just the machine track, being able to save your MIDI track as a machine, your MIDI track as a preset, as a sound, and also like the MIDI learn. That's something that wasn't in.
yeah, MIDI learn was only
Um,
in the Octatrack, but is
yeah,
now in Digitakt 2, Digatone 2, and in Syntact?
not in Syntact.
Not in Syntact? Because
Yeah, no,
Syntact, yeah, that's something to talk about too. Like Digitakt 2 came out, Digatone 2 came out, full like a new interface, kind of a new workflow, a little bit of a new workflow. And then Syntact was like, "Oh no, I'm different."
yeah,
And then but then it got updated to catch up. And I feel like it did a decent job of catching it. It's got most of
yeah. It's got
the
page
same
loop.
stuff.
You have the save step as preset. Excuse me. Yeah, and it's just all of a processor thing. Honestly, like there's the platform that the Electron that the Syntact is on. It's
A different platform.
yeah, a different platform, kind of like you think of OSs or boards that are used. So there's only so much that they could do that it's capable of. So trying
Right.
to add what we can from the newer machines into it, but there's a certain point where we
We
can't.
can't add like 4 more LEDs.
Yeah, you
Like
can't
that's it.
just drill
It's
some holes.
just yeah, what are we gonna do? Like it's
Yeah. But yeah, there's a few there, that's why it's a funny thing going back and forth. I still really like the Syntac too, like back to that idea of just like having one device as like a drum machine or a synth. I
Mhm.
think the Syntax is one of the best drum machines, like
You say
synth
drum
synthesizer drum
machines,
machine.
synthesizer drum machine.
Yeah,
Okay,
synthesizer drum machine. Yeah, yeah, because like you get the best of both. You get analog, you get digital, and then you also get that audio track, the effects block.
yeah,
So like
that I
things like
miss on the Digatone because for
yeah,
me, I'm kind of like Digatone came out and it gave me everything I was using on my Syntax because I do. You said before you're like Digitac drums, Digatone for sounds, and you that's how you worked, and that's my workflow too, and
yeah,
that like I've gone back to that workflow once Digatone 2 came out. And now the Digitone 2 for me has replaced my Syntax, so it's like
yeah,
it's over here,
yeah,
but it's like I love it and I used it for so many shows and so much music,
yeah.
but it's hard for me to have it's a lot of footprint now, and I feel like my Digatone is accomplishing more goals minus that effects track, and those analog engines are really hard to beat. You can't
Yeah,
make those sounds on the Digatone.
exactly. That's the other thing. It's like for me, if I want just like a fat bass, like analog bass, I'm gonna bring the Syntact out and just use Raw and just like
Exactly.
you know And then even the chip, the new chip, side chip, you have like just square wave on there. There's just sound. There's just some ways on there you just can't. I can't. You could get it to sound like it, but then it's just that like beefiness of like that low end that I could eventually achieve with like plugins and stuff maybe, but or like running it through the heat. But yeah, the syntax is just like even kick drum sounds like the syntax.
Yeah.
I've made there's just drum sounds on there that I just like crazy. But yeah, the effects track, it's like that extra that layer on top
That
of the
extra
actual
analog
sequence.
filter.
Yeah, extra analog filter, and then like being able to control the effects parameters is really really fun.
That'd be cool if we got a compressor on that. That'd be sick.
Dude,
Let's
yes.
pass that message along. And an aux track Mark III, of course.
Hell yeah.
I was hoping that you'd maybe play us another one of your tracks.
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
you up
I'm
for that?
down, yeah, I'm down to do one more. I think that after that'll be a good way to tie a knot on it. I'm probably, let's see what I got. I could play this pattern that it was actually included in. Got these like ambient ones here, but we want some craziness. This one was included. It was part of the preset patterns. It's A5. So if you have a Digitone II, you could go in and look at my brain and see how I.
Oh, this is yours? Oh,
yeah, this
sick.
is mine. So I created this and it was part of it. But yeah.
So we all have this. This is
You
great.
guys all have that. If you have this in there, it's pattern A5. A5. Cool. I'm gonna turn my volume down and then let's go. Want some more?
Dude, I mean, I'll have as much as you want to give me. That was
Cool.
amazing, dude.
Thank you. Let's see. I got this other one here that's like. This one's a little different. Actually, kind of the same.
You're
but-
selling Digitone twos right now, apparently. People are like, I need one of these.
Oh shit, what's going on there? I thought that one was a little different, but it wasn't. All right,
Dude,
cool.
oh, these tracks are awesome. So it's so good to connect with you. I know like we're doing a stream and stuff, but it's just nice to hang out with you, Mario.
Yeah,
It's always a good
likewise.
time hanging out, man.
Yeah, we gotta link up again. You could always hit me up, and then I'm down to figure something out for another stream. But
Yeah, yeah, we should. We should
that
do
was
some
fun.
Octatrack stuff and just geek out on stuff. I've got so much crazy stuff that, I'm doing on
Yeah,
not just on Digitone, but I'm going insane over here.
that's what's up. Yeah,
Like,
dude. Like, yes, dude. Digitone and a sampler. That's like never ending.
I feel like I've achieved like this ultimate setup thing, and I picked this up recently, and I actually think it's pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, it's
Uh,
all the stuff I've seen on it. I think it's fun. I wish I could afford it right now, but gotta sell some stuff if I want it.
I got a big list of stuff I'm selling too, because I got to make up for buying it.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. Well, thanks for coming on and doing this so much. It's so good to get some love from Elektron and
Oh yeah.
to give some love to Elektron because I love this stuff, and but really to you and to hear your music and your art is so cool. I hope that everybody enjoyed your tunes.
Yeah.
So
Thanks.
very
Thanks again for
grateful.
having me, Matt. Thanks, EZBot, Patreon clan, and everybody that tuned in. Hopefully we made your day a little bit better and gave you some cool ideas and inspiration. That's all I could hope for, honestly. And yeah, thanks again for all the feedback, both in the chat. I know we kind of got lost in our conversation, but I'm always down with that, and I hope that added some value to anybody that tuned in.
Yeah, and yeah, I want to make sure everybody knows this that the person who responds to your emails, Mario, this is Mario. So be nice to Mario.
That's me.
Be nice to this man.
Yeah,
Uh,
if for any support ticket, I mean, we also have other our techs in Sweden. But if you ever are having like a repair and like you're sending it in, it's me. Sorry if I've ever we're a slow response, but it's just two of us here in the U.S. that are answering support tickets. But we see everything and we do our best to help you guys out and everybody. And yeah, just keep on using our stuff. Keep asking questions. That's we don't know what to fix or what to change or how to help if there's no questions being asked. We try our best, and yeah, I mean we're listening, we're working, we're here, and I hope you guys enjoyed.
Thanks so much.
Yep,
Perfect, dude. That was a beautiful, beautiful anecdote to end our stream on.
awesome.
So, yeah, I'll let you go, let you get back to your life,
Thank
and
you.
we'll let everybody get excited about playing with their Digitone too,
Oh yeah.
because it's super sick. So,
Yep. Happy holidays, everybody.
yeah, happy
Enjoy your weekend.
holidays.
All
All right,
right. Thanks,
Mario.
Matt. Peace.
Later. Thank you everybody for hanging out. My name's Matthew, aka EZBot. This has been a live stream. We had Mario from Elektron here with us. And if you'd like to support this channel, you can visit patreon.com/EZBot. If you can pick up my performance templates for the Octatrack, sound design for some other equipment, and whatever. But if you like this stuff, you like the community-oriented focus of live hardware, electronic music, and what this channel brings to the table, feel free to visit patreon.com/EZBot and throw some support my way. It's really helpful. Other than that, I'll see y'all next week for another live stream. Everybody take care.